Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Jobity, and I am the Brilliance Unveiler and host of the Power Shift Summit, Women Igniting Change and Shaping the Future. I am beyond thrilled to bring this event to women globally because I believe we are at a pivotal point in time where we are being called to rise up and shine and speak out. All these authentic, unedited conversations I'm having are meant to ignite your inner fire so that you will be inspired and motivated and emboldened to take the reins of your destiny and soar as the powerhouse woman that you are. And our powerhouse speaker today is the fabulous Darla LeDoux. Welcome, Darla.
Hi, Natalie. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for this beautiful space.
You are so welcome. So, Darla LeDoux is an author, a speaker, and a seasoned business coach, the creator of the Source Leader Academy and the Shift the Field Coach certification. She specializes in supporting heart-centered entrepreneurs to confidently offer and deliver deep transformational work with their most magical gifts. As a recovering engineer, Darla moved through her own personal transformation to be able to trust her innate magic and claim her role as healer and oracle. Trusting her intuition has generated millions of dollars in revenue while offering potent and deeply transformational work to clients around the world. Not only that, but year after year, she has more fun working lighter and lighter with joy and play because what your soul wants is the most practical thing that you can do. So we're going to talk to Darla today about trusting your magic, the leadership paradigm shift that puts women at the helm. All right, Darla, first of all, tell us what is magic and how did you end up in this space?
Yeah. So let's talk about magic first. So I consider magic to be our inner knowing. And I believe our inner knowing comes from a higher power. So I call that source. We can think of this in lots of different ways: energy, collective consciousness, God, spirit, the universe, all that is, that there is this divine guidance that we have, and it comes through as us knowing and knowing what we know that we know. And the magic types are ways to give yourself permission to trust what you already know. So I know we've talked a fair amount about the magic types, and we'll dive into this as we go. But the second part of your question around, kind of how did I get here? The first thing I want to say is I was not really raised to trust myself. And this is true, I think, for a lot of women, especially. But I was really taught to be seen and not heard. I was often told, you don't want that, or, you're wrong about that, or that's not true. I was picking up a lot and seeing a lot as a young kid, and nobody else seemed to be acting like that was true. And so I doubted myself a lot.
Of course.
And then the only thing I knew is I knew how to do well at school. And so I got good grades and got the gold star and all of that. And I went into engineering school because I could. Basically, my math teacher said, if you can do this, you should. And so I took his advice and became an engineer, which ended up being really great because I also didn't need to have any opinions because I was running experiments and gathering data, and the data would make decisions for me rather than me having to trust myself or my inner knowing. And fast forward, I eventually, in my corporate job, was trained as a coach. And as I was in this coach training program, I started to discover that I had an awareness. I could tell when people were telling the truth or not.
Huh.
And I never had really thought a lot about that before because I was just doing my job, getting the gold star, working my way up, getting promoted, all of that. But suddenly I realized that, wow, a lot of the conversations we're having here in corporate, the time we're spending is talking about things that really aren't the truth.
The capital T truth.
Yeah, it's like everybody's trying to prove and perform and impress, and including myself. And I immediately thought, why doesn't everybody know this? What if we started bringing more truth to the space and trusting our intuition? I didn't have that language back then, but trusting ourselves more to be more honest in our conversations. And as I started bringing that forward and seeing things shift, I knew I needed to leave corporate and kind of bring this message in a broader sense. That said, when I started my business, Natalie, I did not have, I lost it. It's like I knew why I was getting into business, but then everybody started giving me advice,
Ah,
right? I started, going to events and hiring coaches and learning all the ways we should do things. And I lost track of that, trusting myself
yeah.
for a while. I don't know if you ever had that experience.
Absolutely. I mean, because you get into business. I had this conversation with another speaker too, a little bit of it of, you're thinking they're the guru, they know the thing, so I have to follow their framework, their way. What do I know? I'm new at this. And it takes a lot of us some time to realize, wait, what we know is what we know. And that's the brilliance
Yeah,
we bring. We don't have to follow this framework, that framework. We have to bring ourselves, our brilliance out there.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, I was successful following what people were telling me to do, but I was also a little bit rebellious, and I would try my own experiments of things that I felt intuitively drawn to do. And I did see that those tended to work better. But I really didn't double down on trusting my own magic, my own knowing, and the way I really wanted to work with clients until I had an event that I did because my coach said, you should do big events. If you don't do big events, you're no one. And I
Mm.
had this big event and I lost money at it. And it was the first thing I had lost money doing. And that's when I really went to work on hearing my own guidance and kind of tuning out a lot of the outside experts. And that was the first step. And then as we, in 2020 moved into COVID times, and everybody seemed to be extremely nervous about what to do and how to handle it, obviously. And people kept asking me, what do you think I should do? I think I'm getting this message. I think I'm getting this guidance. I feel drawn or pulled in this direction, but what do you think I should do?
Hmm.
And this was happening so often that I thought, I really want to sort out, how do I have people stop asking me for permission to do what they already know to do?
Mm.
And that's where I developed this framework and the quiz to help people identify their sourced magic or how their inner knowing works in a way that they could trust it and really trust themselves. So I totally believe that if each of us trusts our guidance of the role we're here to play, how we want to work, how we bring more truth forward into the space, that the world works. Like that we each have our role to play.
Mhm.
And if we're playing it, the world works. We're not trying to have what other people have or prove that we're, somehow better than we are. We just are.
Yeah. I'm curious because I'm a fan of Darla and I have been to like four of her shift the feel events, which started during COVID, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
I've been to all but one of her shift the feel events, and that's where I learned about a source magic quiz,
Mhm.
which we'll have a link to below her page on her page. Darla, what I'm curious about is because it's such a great quiz. I love your quiz. How do you come up with the six categories of
Mm.
magic?
Yeah, well, let's talk about one of the magic types is what I call recognition magic. And this is really seeing the patterns or the trends, making connections, putting pieces together. And, for me, Natalie, I developed a lot of recognition magic growing up in a household where there was alcoholism, there was, emotional abuse, like things weren't safe
Lining
all
up.
the time. And so I learned to pay attention so I would know and alter my behavior, right, based on the mood. And so a lot of times people with a lot of recognition magic have some version of that in their background where
Mm.
they're really picking up on more than the average bear, if that makes sense.
I have that magic,
So,
by the way, folks. Yep.
yeah, exactly. So recognition magic is really, really helpful in finding patterns. So when I was noticing that everybody seemed to be asking my permission to trust themselves, I got out my Post-it notes and started documenting, okay, what are all the ways that people are getting guidance? What are the different ways it's coming through? So I'm not going to go through all of them because it can get a little heavy, but like sensation magic is one. Feeling in your body, if you're a yes or no, feeling in your body, maybe getting symptoms in your physical self as guidance. And so, someone would say, I'm getting a ringing in my ear every time I think about this. I think this means X. What do you think? Right. So, sensation magic. But I used my recognition and kind of patterned it out and then put it into groups.
Yep.
That's really, and there was a one which is called expansion magic, which
Mm.
has to do with really trusting that the universe is abundant and being able to see and amplify other people's ideas.
Yeah.
And that one, I I don't have that as naturally. So for me, I've paid a lot of money to other people who have that gift. Um, and that one came through really intuitively. It was like missing from my analysis, if that makes sense.
Mm. It's interesting because I see it as my third one, Darla,
Mm,
but I see it, it's funny. I feel like I really see it for the women with the women I work with who have big visions. I'm able to hold the big, big, crazy,
mm,
disruptive, whatever vision and know that they will get all the resources they
mm,
need to bring it to fruition. I have no doubt, no anything, but I'm not as strong with my own self.
mhm,
It's funny with the
mhm,
expansion in my own self, but like that expansion magic, I get goosebumps when I think of it
mhm,
because in doing your quiz and reading the results with expansion, I realized that's one of my magics that I have to grow and evolve into more. But I see it. I see the signs. Like I don't even understand why I can hold big, crazy visions that even have things that haven't even been put out there yet. And I actually think, Darla, between you and me and everybody else listening to this right now, I think one of my gifts or whatever is
mhm,
working with disruptors who have something so new and counter cultural or
mhm,
counter whatever, and that's why they're scared and they're like, I'm crazy or whatever. But I'm like, no, you're not. I see it. I'm here. I can hold it with you. And
yeah,
Donna, I really see these crazy big things that I don't even know why. I just do. So I'm getting goosebumps with that because it's like I
mhm.
think all the magics are powerful, but when you can resonate with the magic from Darla's quiz, it can change the way you see yourself.
When you talk about people being disruptors, right? This is part of why it's scary to trust the guidance because it's different than what we already see out there. And I'm going to come back to speaking specifically to women. We're still, unfortunately, in a place where we're not shown as the innovators and the ones who are disrupting. And so trusting your magic can be a way to say, I know that I know that I know that I know that this is my direction or that this is possible, that we can, in my world, it's like that we can trust ourselves. In your world, it might be that, that your clients can do the big thing that they never thought possible.
Build an agro-tourism business that with all this land that they
Mm,
just went and purchased because they didn't even know why. And
yes.
like big, big revolutionary things, Dollar. It's
Mhm.
it's so interesting. So expansion magic. one of the magics from Darla's quiz. I think it's about infinite possibilities that we are able to bring out from our brilliance, from our unique divine design, and serve the world. And one of the reasons why I'm having this summit, and people who are listening will recognize what I'm saying right now, is because I said it in the beginning, because we're at this momentous moment in time where things are shifting. Doll, do you feel that shift? And
Mm.
what do you have to say in terms of your paradigm shift that's going on right now?
Meaning in my own world, in my work? Yeah. I haven't been asked that, Natalie. I know you're on my list, so you're following. Um, it's interesting. I was talking with a mentor this morning about trusting yourself, right? That's the idea behind this, is trusting your magic. And this is, kind of a new thought process, hot off the press. When, for me, what I've grappled with and what I've seen is that I have a deep, deep fear that if I really trust where I'm guided, I'll be alone.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I think this is very resonant with the people in my community as well. Source, I'm just thinking of a woman who was at retreat last weekend, and Source is really guiding her to make more money in her business, to be able to buy property, on an island in the Caribbean, and which you'll love, and be able to host people there and really like have a more thriving, joyful life. And it feels really clear in her knowing. And then the immediate fear that comes up is, if I do that, I'm leaving people behind.
But that's the reality, Dolly, you know this, and to speak to this, with every transformative shift, there is a letting go part of that. Speak to that around this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember one of my early mentors taught me a lot about universal law, and there's the universal law of sacrifice. And it goes, we have to, in order to have something we haven't had, right? Something of a higher nature, we're required to sacrifice something of a lower nature. And, this speaks a lot to vibration magic. So if anyone listening speaks energy as your primary language, I call that vibration magic. And when I think about the law of sacrifice, I think about vibration. So if we use this person as an example, if there's a certain vibration of, well, having this property that's, vibrationally aligned and inviting people in to come experience more joy and possibility, in order to be in that vibration, maybe the heavier guilt or shame or martyrdom has to be sacrificed because they can't coexist in the same space.
Yeah, in the same realm.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what's a struggle that many of us, especially as women, that's what makes us not move forward, makes us not see our dreams to reality, because the one about being alone and being the weird one or the crazy one or the wild one, whatever words with negative associations with it, or that, like, but I have to, the things that are comfortable for us, now let those go and be in discomfort for a while. I've been talking about this a lot in my social media. It's funny about navigating and being in discomfort to soar, like going through that period, that season of unfamiliarity, that where we don't really have the answer, but we're in this transitional point before we jump into the next. I really feel and get that. Even, I mean, I've experienced it. I just shared an event Darla knows about, where I had to go through serious fear and anxiety, and go through it to see myself on the other side of, wow, I just accomplished this thing I didn't know I could accomplish this way. So, and there's so many versions of that, right? So Darla, you have worked with so many amazing women leaders, trailblazers. Tell us about the work you do under your company sourced with women especially.
Mm. Yeah, I do a couple of things. The main program that I love working with people in is the Shift the Field coach training. And there's two types of women that come through here. Um, by the way, we have had some men, but it's almost all women. We had one brave man at our retreat last week, and he was like, "What am I doing here?" But it was awesome. Anyway, in the training program, we have people who are in a profession who have their magic starting to come online. It's like you mentioned discomfort. There's a way where it starts to become uncomfortable to dull your magic, to know what you know that you know and pretend you don't.
Right, right.
And so a lot of the people that go through our training program are, professionals, service providers in some way. And they're realizing that they can't keep checking the box. They can't keep talking about the same thing, staying surface level with their clients. And they want to go deeper, but they don't yet have the tools to do that, or they're not sure, because it's a brave step to start talking about emotions and energy and patterns and what's underneath the barrier, right? So the training program helps them really learn how to go deeper and how to structure their offers to help their clients solve their problem, permanently, to transform it rather than continue to put band-aids on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the other type of client we have are people who are already healers or coaches. They're in this realm of transformation. And maybe, like when I went to coaching school, I was taught how to have a coaching call, how to have a session, different tools to bring to the session. But I wasn't taught how to help someone over time to really change their life. And, you've probably seen this if people are listening and even if you're a team leader and you're coaching someone on your team, if they have a blind spot and they can't see it, you really have to honor and respect that they have a blind spot that they can't see and get the tools to help them be willing to see what's in their way. And that takes something. And when we don't want to see it,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do anything we can to hide from it, right? And so in the model where we have a Reiki session individually or a coaching session individually, and we're not really holding a deeper container, I can hide from my truth, right? Every single day, I might come to my session and have a different problem
Yeah,
or, and I think I'm making progress, but I'm not really getting at the heart of what's keeping me from
yeah,
moving forward. And so
yeah.
our training program helps other service providers, coaches, healers to really hold that powerful container. That's worth more, right? So you can
Yeah.
also charge more, make more money, and be more in a thriving space.
Darla, oh, that's really, I mean, I could relate to all of that. I'm curious what advice you would give to women looking to redefine, and this could be executives or entrepreneurs, looking to redefine how they lead
Mhm.
with their magic at the
Mhm.
helm.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is identify how your magic works. Like, are you seeing signs from the universe, right? Like recognition magic, you'll see the guidance and it will lead you. Sensation magic, it's your body. Compassion magic, it's your heart specifically and where your heart is guiding you. And when you know how your magic works and you learn to trust it, so one, know how it works. Two is make space for it and practice with baby steps. So, we're never going to get the courage to like speak our truth in a meeting if we don't learn what we like to order at a restaurant,
Mm,
or what do I feel called to wear today? Like little decisions that are low stakes starting to hear our knowing about that,
Yeah.
because that builds the muscle.
I like the what am I going to wear today? Because that's just something that I literally intentionally, because I used to be an image consultant. I literally
All
intentionally
right.
think about what am I going to wear? And I actually follow my recognition and I follow my intuitive, like, what am I feeling? What do I want to project? What it like
Hmm.
it's actually, and it really actually, as much as I make a choice, I'm like, I'm surprised I made this choice. But this was the
Hmm.
choice, you know what I mean? Like I love that example.
This jacket you're wearing is fabulous, by the way.
And this wasn't the first choice. It's funny. This was not the first choice. What another example of it was because it's really cold here today, and I'm like, I need a warmer jacket. And I was like, oh, my flower jacket. I forgot it had flowers on it. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, and this can seem like small things, but I'm going to assert that they make a difference. So, for example, if you're feeling intuitively drawn to wear something specific, and then you walk in a room and the person who's your client is drawn to that, right? It's like, I believe our divine guidance is always working on our behalf. And when we don't trust it, we miss opportunities. And it could be as simple as what you're wearing.
I'll give it a quick example of that because you know the story about me having this speaking gig recently. And it's funny. I had a yellow dress that I was very intentionally going to wear yellow because I wanted to give off a certain vibe. But my problem is always with the shoes because I'm tall and I don't like to wear heels. But I brought a pair of shoes with heels. And because of what I was feeling at the time before I went downstairs to go to the stage, I'm like, I'm not going to wear those heels. I'm going to wear my sandals. I wore pretty sandals, which typically would be not what you would wear for a speaking gig on a stage. You know what I mean? With a nice yellow dress. I did, I followed my gut, quite honestly.
Mm.
And with doing that, I think it made me more comfortable in me on the stage, in the standards, as opposed to shoes that I don't typically wear, just to give off a certain
Yeah.
impression of whatever with heels. So glad I followed my intuition and just went, Natalie, it's gonna seem crazy, but you're wearing sandals.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that gave my body more of a comfort, more of a, you know what I mean? As opposed to imagine being on a stage and feeling unstable in heels, which you don't not
Mhm.
typically wear. I could have totally made myself have a worse experience.
And you never know how the people in the audience are responding to, oh, look at how bold she is. She looks comfortable and embodied. And yes,
Exactly. Exactly. Like I can maybe it perhaps I don't know this for true as truth, but with me wearing those sandals, I was more relatable to them.
yes. You're making me think of this story because our magic, needs space and it needs attention. And I remember this was quite a few years ago. I was hosting a retreat, and it was in the stage where this was before I created the magics or anything like that, but I was just practicing myself, really trusting myself. And I was committed that I wasn't going to put anything out into the world unless I really felt like I was drawn to do it, right? Rather than, oh, I'm going to go do this event because someone told me to. And so I I have a lot of sensation magic, recognition. Like, if I put my hands on my body and I just ask, I know, right? I get a response in my body. So I was leading this retreat, and we got to the end of an experience, and I had, a certain amount of time before lunch, and I was feeling into what the right next step was. And I said, just a minute. I said to the group, and I went like this, and I checked in on my different options. And then I was like, okay. And then I started saying what we're going to do. And someone's hand immediately shot up. And so I called on her, and she said, so I'm just wondering, like, if you were in real life, what would you do? Meaning, it's super weird that you stopped and touched yourself and
Yeah.
you closed your eyes and felt into the decision. What would you do if you were out in real life and not just here with us? And I said, well, I think this is real life. But what would start to change if we took personal power over our magic, to say,
Mhm.
this is what I need to be clear and to make a clear decision and make our way right for us rather than defaulting to the cultural norm. And we're
Yeah,
so, we value decisiveness, we value, knowing, we
yep.
value having a reason for the things that we do and being able to explain
Data to support,
ourselves.
just data to support whatever the decision is.
Exactly, exactly. But every magic works differently. And if we're really giving ourselves, the space to know what our truth is, it it doesn't necessarily conform to immediate decision making and having a reason.
I love that because that's back, I feel like, to being a little bit disruptive in that. So that person said, you
Mhm.
putting your hand in your heart and stopping it. Would you do that if you were in a
Mhm.
meeting? The Darla today would do that, wouldn't she?
Right,
Because it
right,
wouldn't be, even though it's not what anybody typically does, Darla knows what Darla knows about herself and how she functions.
right.
Just like I am learning, Natalie knows what Natalie knows. Like when I'm doing workshops or presentations,
Mm.
I do things that are totally not the. I literally knew that if I try to follow the standard norm of what workshops presentations are like, I will not do well.
Right.
I will not shine. I will not be in my fullest expression. So I've leaned more and more and more and more into, well, Natalie, she has slides, but I just have
Mhm.
my own way, Darla. And it's like, I'm
Mhm.
not the perfect speaker in terms of like the words come out of my mouth. I might stop, I might go like, all these kind of things. Things that people go like, judge you with. I don't care anymore because I'm like, okay, I need to like, what am I trying, what's coming to me right
Yes.
now, right? So in the middle of it, I might just do this. Okay, you hold on. Okay, okay, and I'll do weird things, but that's Natalie being Natalie. Here's what I have seen in
Mhm.
terms of the evidence of me being in the more full expression of me. The outcome and impact afterwards is always beyond my understanding of, look at the woman, look at what's happening,
Mhm.
look what they're sharing, look how they're connecting,
Mhm.
look. And I'm always like, what did I just do? What did I do? I don't even know what I did, but I'm just being me.
Yeah. So inspiring. And, you asked earlier about how I help people, and it's like underneath all of the tools we teach and, frameworks and structures, it's really permission to be you and to trust the weird nudges. And it is that, like, that fear of looking weird and I'm going to be ostracized and be alone. And yet, time and again, I can't even tell you how many times I've had clients do some kind of exercise at their retreat that was an intuitive download. They're like, oh my gosh, if I could just do this, but people might think I'm crazy. And people love it. Like, we're looking for what's alive. I
Yeah.
don't know if you had this experience, but I remember being in corporate and going to corporate trainings, and it was kind of dead. I still loved going because I love personal development and
Yeah,
training, all,
exactly.
all the things. But there was such it was so intellectualized, and people are hungry for something that feels real.
Yes, use the word alive. And I love that you use
Mhm.
that word alive. That's
Mhm.
organic, that's innate, that's not and intellectualized too. Like most kind of like women's leadership workshop things. When you say the word leadership, there's a certain
Mhm.
association with that word, even if it's a workshop. And I, with my women's catalyst circles that I was doing locally here, I decided to say, yes, I am doing leadership development, but I'm bringing in other modalities that speak to me that would not typically be done in a leadership development
Yes.
corporate environment. So what is amazing is that, and I didn't know how people would respond. I was just like,
Mhm.
let's see, like I just felt it so strongly. And what I realized is me merging those two things, personal development modalities, I don't know what you want to call it, with the leadership
Mhm.
development stuff. It's magical together. It's different.
Mhm.
They don't get that stuff at other places, Darla. So it's like, and I don't
Yeah.
know, like I would say that again, I've been to four of Dollars of shift the field experiences and being in that community. And I feel like maybe just me being around other people who do things differently and who have different gifts, and and hearing Darla speak to all these things opened me up to, I want to say that's probably true. Open me up to like, Nali, what does it look like? Especially with when I knew about my expression magic. That was my biggest hit 2 years ago. Like, oh, I have expression magic. What does that look like? But that's what I've been developing this whole since over a year now. Just innately, organically, going a little bit more daring every time because it's like new to me. But seeing every time I stretch that, wow, I can't see what I'm doing. I'm not able to experience it, but I just know from the people and the reaction, like something is happening here, Natalie. You're doing something with who you are and how you're presenting all this stuff. And I have to give you credit, Darla, to opening up my mind to seeing that there are multiple ways that I can channel my brilliance, and my recognition and my standard stuff that I already know is one of them. But I always had these other aspects that I didn't realize how powerful they were.
Well, and I love that, when you said that you might pause and go, okay, let's see what wants to come through. And one, when you're doing that, you're inviting source to really speak through you. I know you know this. And it's alive because that energy is alive. And the other thing is it feels good.
It feels amazing.
And when it feels good to you, people feel that. And that's where they resonate and they lean in and they say, I want what she's having. And that's how you give other people the courage to let go of their logic and rationalization and trust their own magic.
So let's talk about trust for a second. I know we kind of mentioned it earlier, but what are the biggest blocks to women trusting their magic, Darla?
So I've started calling this our intuition blind spot. And I think we have more than one that we have a handful of them that we have the opportunity to transform so we can access our magic more. So, I often say it, we have this energy that's hidden from our view. And this comes from an earlier experience, and often before we're 7 years old, where I'm just going to use this language, that our magic was dishonored, or we were told we were wrong about it, or something was happening and we filed it away as, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. So if I think about my own childhood, I watched people behave like in a way that ignored the truth that I was picking up, right? Pretending like everything's okay. Meanwhile, I can feel the energy and the, what's going on, what's not being said between people. And then they're just pretending like that's not there, right? And so between that and literally being told I was wrong about things, if I brought it up, right? No, you're wrong. I started to believe that I was wrong. And that, yes, I'm seeing this and I'm picking this up, but I must be wrong because they're right. And, especially if they are our parents and the people who are in charge of keeping us safe and alive, we have to make ourselves wrong and make them right.
Right.
And so then those things become hidden from our view. And it's like, we don't even know that we can trust ourselves. And we have to reclaim them.
So good. When it comes to, well, I want to ask you this crazy question. If you had a magic wand, how would you use it to change the challenges women face in bringing their brilliance into their arena, whatever that looks like?
Such a good question. I mean, there's literally this, energetic ceiling that I think we all imagine.
Energetic ceiling.
That's how it feels to me, right? This idea of where I assume like is the limit of my personal power.
It's so I hear that and I think of the glass ceiling, but not the glass ceiling,
Mhm.
the energetic ceiling. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, that's what came to my
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel that way. And, if I were to say a lot of where this comes from in our modern world is the way, many of us who are magical and intuitive and female have a past experience in a prior life of persecution, or we know about the persecution of, the burning of witches or lay healers, right? The systematic propaganda against lay healers that then has someone feel like I need to hide my magic. I need to hide my intuition, hide my knowing. Like, you can't just know things. It's dangerous. And, there's a whole season where the medical profession was being invented and monetized, and, the women healers were being discredited.
Yeah.
And so that ended in death often. And so to kind of raise your head above where that limit has been feels scary.
Wow. So your magic wand would do what, Darla?
Oh, it would really just remind us, help us realize that it's not a real ceiling, it's just an energetic. And we are powerful with energy.
Yeah.
We can shift energy.
And I think the whole concept that there's a limit or a ceiling on anything confines us, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if we are just designed to be beyond the normal, whatever, and whatever our gifting
Mhm.
or calling or impact is meant to? But if we believe there is a limit, because going above the limit is whatever, wrong, crazy,
Mhm.
judgmental, will be
Yeah.
judged, or I'd be looked at as, whatever, and people would run away from me. Then we shrink, actually, we shrink ourselves and our magic and our abilities. But the reality is the idea of a ceiling is actually probably an illusion, isn't it?
Mm.
Any ceiling, glass
Yeah.
ceiling, energetic ceiling. I mean, we actually have ceilings on our homes, of course. But in terms of
Yes.
like, sorry, I'm just in
Yeah,
my little weird bubble here right now. Like maybe it's
I
the
agree. I
I
agree
wonder
about
if
the illusion.
it's
And
an illusion.
I, if we look for it, we will find evidence of women who are not limited by that, right? So therefore it can't be real.
Right, right. Like when we think of like just simple example, like the impact Taylor Swift has had on women in the past few
Mhm.
years. Like
Mhm.
this young woman singing music and going, doing tours and like literally what has she's been able to accomplish and the impact of her decisions or her whatever she says or her perspectives on women like 10 years ago. I don't know, like would we have believed that Taylor Swift could be Taylor Swift? You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
10 years ago, could we believe that we could have a woman of color president of this country?
Yeah.
It's all like illusions of what's
Mhm.
possible.
Mhm. And
I,
agreement.
I think
We've agreed to the ceiling.
your magic wand is to, there's no ceiling.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, we, when I work with clients, it's amazing how, and I've seen this for myself too, how we make up these different like levels or, oh, that client is ahead of me, they would never hire me. Well, what ahead in what?
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah, the same thing. It just depends on the game you're playing, how you're measuring where the ceiling is, and just play a different game.
Play a different game. I love that you always talk about play a different game. Darla, what would you say is the most powerful expression of your magic?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna reframe it and say, or reframe it to say, what is the most, when are you the most powerful?
Hmm. I would say I don't know yet
Hmm.
because it keeps evolving. So I believe that most of us are multi-magical. I mean, we all have access to everything, right? And for me, I remember when my sensation magic started to really ask for my attention, right? It's like you're feeling all of these things in your body and you're kind of ignoring it. And there's a power in the physical self. Like a lot of the work I'm doing now is very much embodiment work, right? Because my physical self can move energy. Um, and so as that started coming online, and I honored it, and I started doing energy sessions with my clients where I was really feeling into the energy patterns in their bodies, and I could feel, and I mean, I still can feel source working through me. And in the beginning, it was like almost overwhelmingly beautiful. I was just in tears and gratitude, like at this experience, which maybe is how you feel when the expression comes through now, right? And more recently, I've been being called to bring the expression magic in. And it's scary, it's edgy because you don't know what you're going to say. And the truth is, we don't know. We don't know. If we're showing up in service of our higher power to create higher consciousness on the planet, we never know. But we like the illusion that we know.
Exactly.
And expression magic in particular, it's like it just comes out, comes through you without a filter. And so currently, when I allow that, right, when I just ask and let the message that wants to come rather than the one that I think it sounds smart, just allow the message that wants to come through. Right now in this season, that feels very potent.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I can't wait for you to bring
Mhm.
in that expression to
Mhm.
the fullest degree that you're meant to,
Yeah,
because
I'm
you already do
curious about
some.
it.
Yeah, I literally, I'm like, I can't wait. Doll, you have an amazing free gift to offer our
Mm.
audience. Tell us about it.
Yes. So I recently recorded a 4-part mini course, and it's called Celebrate Your Magic. So within it, there's 4 lessons. I dive deeper into the intuition blind spot and give you some places to look around what might be in the way of you totally trusting your magic. There's a link to the quiz within this little mini course, so you can go find out your magic type, learn a little bit more about them, look at what's in your blind spot, and really be able to celebrate that you know what you know that you know, and start to work that muscle.
I highly recommend everyone listening to go and take that free gift. It's going to possibly shift your field. Oh
Yes.
my God, I just saw the time here. Darla, any last words you want to share with our audience?
Hmm. It's really fun to trust yourself. Once you get over the fear of people thinking that you're crazy, it's like, why not? Because we all have a lifetime of experience doing what we're supposed to and following the social norms and following good external advice. And it gets a little boring. It's like for me, the good girl, I went the chemical engineer, like doing the right thing all the time and not, according to other people. It is way more fun to trust yourself. Life's an adventure, and you'll really make the difference that you're here to make. Like if we band together, how power structures start to shift is just beyond imagination.
Love that. This is the best way to close, Darla. Thank you so much. Oh my God, an honor to have you here at the
Thank
Power Shift
you.
Summit. I just love everything about you. You're an amazing human, and I just know you're going to continue to bring amazing gifts and brilliance and impact to your communities, your people, Darla. Thank you for being you and to continue to growing and evolving and becoming a higher, finer version of yourself.
Thank you. Back at you.
Okay, everyone, hope you enjoyed this. Can't wait to see you at the next session. See you later.